You're either first or last, they tell me. Well, yesterday I decided to be last. Is my webcam a little funny? Do I need to get that? Oh, wow, you see my calluses there. There we go. Now we're in business. Good morning. Good morning to everyone, except the haters and losers, of which there are many. We got Arocha in the chat. Last night was great. Great combos about how you're looking to be in the 1%, need a 1% outcome, and that's never going to look comfortable in a lineup. Yes, we did the Tilt Space show last night. Mike Leone, Joe Holka, and I, we went for like 2.5 hours because we decided we wanted to record during the Sunday Night Football hammer. And yeah, it got pretty tilty. You know, we were having conversations with the chat, or I should say we were battling with the chat. They were calling us a fish for playing Derrick Henry at 0.1% ownership in one of our juke lineups. Because, man, DFS is so easy to review after the games. Of course, Derrick Henry was a fish play. Forget the fact that he was 0.1% owned and still had 18 points. But yes, that's how we do things around here. We just look at the results and then we say what you should have done, which apparently what I should have done was play Davante Adams in every lineup, and play Keenan Allen in every lineup, and play Terry McLaurin in every lineup, and play Alvin Kamara in every lineup, and play the Washington football defense in every lineup. Because, of course, they were a smash play at 2,500. But yet I sat here last week and I said I need to get better about not just jamming cheap defenses if they are going to be very chalky. I did have a lineup that had the Washington football team defense, but it was a pretty contrarian lineup around it. Some of my chalkier builds, I ended up getting up to the Chargers defense because I wanted to make a conscious effort. That was something I said, that was a leak in my game I wanted to get better at. So just because the Washington defense goes off this week doesn't mean I'm changing my process. This is one of those weeks where the chalk hit in a big way, and those are always going to be bad weeks for me, how I play. And I still had pieces of the right plays. I had the Davante Adams, Jamal Williams in my Watson double stack that we'll take a look at here. But it was one of those weeks where you really needed every piece to be right. The game stacks weren't overcoming kind of the chalk optimal builds. That just like wasn't happening. I saw lots of tweets yesterday about how cash lineups were finishing higher than GPP lineups. And considering one of my spies finished with 92.88 points, I would say that's correct. That's correct, considering I've seen cash builds that had well over 200 points. That's what we're trying to do here. If the chalk is smashing that hard, if the optimal, I remember it was last week or last year, there was a week where the blitz optimal won the spy. I think like 10 people had it in a train. It's probably like week 5 or week 6 last year when the blitz optimal just absolutely went nuclear. Shout out to Derek Carty, by the way. Crushing it on the blitz. He had a tweet this morning, pulling up his big hits and his fades, having a really nice year. I love using Carty's projections as a baseline for all the decisions I'm making. So yes, the blitz, the Opto Bros, they had a good week. The contrarian GPP players, we took it on the chin, and that's what we're going to do here. Yeah, last year's Chalkitis, Pete would have crushed yesterday. He would have, man. He would have just been jamming it. Team play the best plays. They won. This is an ongoing battle. Play the best plays won yesterday. It won the week before too. They're having a nice little stretch here. Team play the best plays. Let's see. How is the EM Dupe Osmo game going? I believe EM Dupe is now up. He's up 10,000, I think, after they did 3 Thunderdomes, an NFL, an MMA, and a PGA. And then they have 3 more on tap this week. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, cash threshold was like 180 this week. Yeah, neither of my spy lineups cleared 180. Let's take a look at these. I honestly haven't. Last night on the Tilt Space, we were reviewing our lineup that we had in the luxury box and our 3 lineups in the juke. I haven't thought about my lineups in the spy. I stopped sweating them very early on yesterday. I knew I was toast. So this is going to be me looking at these with a fresh perspective. So So yes, this is a 5,555 person contest. We finished in 5,494th. Very nice. Very nice lineup. So let's once again take a look at some of my exposures here in this build and what I was trying to do. Josh Allen double stack. The Diggs was one of my favorite plays. And Gabriel Davis, I thought, was one of the better value plays. And I liked how it set up, too, in that I think a lot of people in that salary range were going to be playing Traquan Smith. And I also liked that Perriman offered a cheap bringback. With Jamison Crowder out, Perriman's role had been pretty secure. He was getting lots of air yards down the field, lots of targets. We also know he has big playability. So the fact that I could get a double stack at this price and this ownership was an attractive way for me to start my lineup. I knew by playing Perriman and Gabriel Davis, I would be able to hashtag get in some other good plays there. Terry McLaurin was one of my guys I wanted to play this week. I knew he was going to be a little chalkier. And that's part of the reason why I didn't want to play the Washington football team defense. I didn't want to just jam chalk everywhere else because I knew my McLaurin play was going to be very popular. That was just a one-off. It wasn't a one-off. I correlated it with Zeke. That was my thought with that. I didn't want to play a chalk wide receiver as a one-off. That's something I've been trying to avoid, with the thought being like, if McLaurin goes nuclear as a one-off, other pieces in that game are most likely going to get there. And it could have been Kyle Allen double stacks with Logan Thomas or what get there, or the Dallas side. So I wanted to have a Dallas play. And obviously in a vacuum, Kamara was an infinitely better play than Zeke. Well, I shouldn't say infinitely. He wasn't an infinitely better play, but he was a better play for sure. And I mean, in hindsight, Zeke looks absolutely awful. But again, I'm asking the questions. If you play that out 10 times, how many times does Zeke outscore Kamara there? Probably like 2 or 3 times out of 10, I would say. So that's the kind of leverage I was trying to get on the Kamara ownership. I think you could say that I could have still played Kamara with this lineup just because I was pretty contrarian everywhere else. I think that's totally fair. But again, I was correlating it with the McLaurin play. I like doing these correlation plays, trying to identify the games that are going to shoot out. And I had other correlations that work better. I had a Darren Waller, Chris Godwin. I had a James Conner, AJ Brown, and they didn't all work out perfectly. Like, I would have much rather have had the Deontay Johnson, AJ Brown. And sometimes that's just what happens. Like the pieces don't fit perfectly, but I'm eliminating the number of things I have to get right by trying to target a game environment that has more points relative to what their ownership would expect. Yes, Mike Leone, an Allen stack. A little birdie told me that Leone might have jammed 150 Josh Allen double stacks in the Millie. It's a rumor. It's a vicious rumor out there. Alex says he cashed in the listener league. We'll check on that in a second. I just want to roll around in my own filth with this lineup. This lineup needs a blanket. I know. I wore the blanket far too long yesterday. I have shed my vulnerability blanket. Yeah, Bill's not smashing the Jets is gross. I mean, I'll bring back the kicker spot so I can jam Tyler Bass in here. I mean, come on. This is the question everyone always asks. I've been getting this a lot. At 70% sum of total ownership, is that too chalk shy? Again, I'm not building. So I'm obviously conscious of chalk, but I'm not building of like, I need to shy away from the chalk. I wanted to play a Josh Allen double stack. Okay. That's four spots in my lineup right there. Okay. I knew that I really liked Mike Davis as a play. I thought relative to his role, he was still underpriced. So that's a guy I'm playing in there. Okay, so he comes in lower owned. And then I did a little correlation with Jared Cook, who I actually thought was going to be more chalky. But I guess everyone could get to the studs and duds build and was getting up to Kelsey, I guess. I guess we can check some ownerships. But Jared Cook, I thought Jared Cook was going to be more 15%. I actually thought this was going to be a little chalkier. And then I told you I was playing McLaurin. I knew he'd be chalky. And so I offset that with Zeke. And then I didn't want to play the Washington defense along with Terry and that. But yeah, I guess I'm not saying like, oh, wow, this is too contrarian. I should put a chalk piece in it. Like, I didn't think I was giving up projected points. Now, I will say I made 5 lineups I made 5 lineups that I hand built with these beautiful calloused hands. You see those calluses? Those aren't from doing deadlifts. Those aren't for using kettlebells. That's from hand building lineups. And in 4 of my 5 lineups, I had Jamal Williams. He was a near lock button for me. And I do agree. I will say that. This lineup, I probably should have just had him everywhere. He was such a smash play. Obviously, he was going to be super popular. And we'll pull up my other spy lineup here in a sec. I had him. This was my one lineup. I didn't have him. And it was because I liked these other plays. I wanted to get him in. But I should have made room for Jamal Williams in here. So I do agree with you as far as that. But this is like when I build my lineups, right? I have a few of these stacks I like. I have a few of these mini correlations I like. And I've been basically making 5 lineups. That's about the most I can make with a fresh set of eyes on Sunday, with being as busy as I am doing shows, and feel like I'm getting it in good, not just punting it off, furiously making lineups. So I feel good about the time I have to make 5 good lineups. And I start pulling the puzzle pieces together. Like, I like these correlations. I like these stacks. All of a sudden, you run out of room in salary and roster spots really quickly. And sometimes it's just like, yeah, I have Jamal Williams in 4 of my 5 lineups. I love him. I think he's the best play on the slate. But I want to get in some of these other plays. And so that's just what happens. He got squeezed from this lineup. If I made one lineup this week, Jamal Williams would have been in it. So that's the other thing. Like, I'm showing you guys, for the purpose of this challenge, the Bankroll, aka Single Entry Challenge, I'm just showing you each week my 2 spy lineups. I've been playing 5. I put 5 in the $33 5 max, and then I put each individual lineup in like a single entry or 3 max. So I do the big spy, the little spy, the big red zone, the little red zone, and then I think I threw one in a $75 3 max. That was like the extent of my personal action in play yesterday. And then with the tilt space guys, we have collectively we had 1 in the luxury box and 3 in the juke. That was the majority of my action, like 95% of my action. And I had Jamal Williams on 8 or 9 of 10 of those teams. So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, this lineup was more contrarian than my other ones, just because I wasn't eating 60% of Jamal Williams ownership. How much was Jamal Williams here? 53%. Yeah. So let me see here. Let me check in on the chat. Yo, good morning, RB Nation. Good morning. I like Gabriel Davis too. He played well when Smokey is ruled out. Yeah, it was. He had been absorbing the John Brown deep threat role, with Diggs operating all over the field as kind of the alpha wide receiver 1 there. And you're hoping to capture one of those outlier games. You're trying to capture the Tyler Lockett game from last night. Like, if you double stack Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, that was expensive, but you're still happy with the overall output you got from those 2 positions, because Lockett went for over 50. So that's why I like the double stacks that have the cheaper secondary stack options and the cheap bring back, because I'm not paying that much cumulatively to try to capture a ton of points. Say Diggs gets shut down and puts up a stat line like this, but Gabriel Davis has this monster game where he catches 2 long TDs. Well, then this stack is still paying off relative to the cost and the ownership. Good morning, Willis. Cole Beasley over Gabriel Davis. Stupid of me to have not played Beasley. Too much sauce. Yeah, this was a tilting. We'll go to my other lineup in a sec, where I had a Deshaun Watson double stack, and I was watching Randall Cobb catches all day. And then in this stack, I'm watching Cole Beasley catches all day. That's just the kind of day it was. When you have the double stack, you're trying to put your chips to cover the entire roulette board, and then the 0 comes up, the green 0. The dealer takes all the chips. That was yesterday. Do we have a leak wanting to play some unproven players like Gabe Davis over proven players like Beasley? I don't, those narratives, I kind of understand where you're coming from, but to me, it's not about proven, it's about opportunity. And Gabriel Davis has shown he can step in and produce when John Brown is out, because he's going to see a volume uptick. And it's not like Josh Allen has been scared to throw to Gabriel Davis. I think in general, the decisions I'm making, so like if I'm thinking in my secondary stack, Brandon Cooks or Randall Cobb, or I'm thinking Gabriel Davis or Cole Beasley, I'm just looking at ceilings, right? You could probably say each week that, Beasley and Cobb are going to have a higher floor than those other guys. But again, I'm trying to get first in this tournament. So like a Beasley play low or raises my ceiling. But as my friend Adam Levitan would say, it's kind of a triple condom play, right? Like I'm just trying to have a better lineup so I can come on this stream and be like, see guys, I got some more points. I still finished outside of the money, but look at me. I got more points. Aren't I good at DFS? No, I don't care. I'm just swinging. I'm swinging for the fences. And I think Gabriel Davis had that ceiling based on his role, based on his average depth of target, based on the Jets being bad. So yeah, I'm not going to overthink that too much. It's just like the tilt you're going to live with. Like it's like we've seen it even with the Cowboys. It's like you can double or triple stack the Cowboys and Noah Brown or Cedric Wilson is going to still catch passes. That kind of stuff is just going to happen. Yeah, I think I even missed this. Gabe Davis was fine, got a TD called back on a fake penalty plus other end zone targets. Yeah. Let's see here. Chief said he was going all in on Allen and the blitz, literally 150 Allen Diggs lineups. That ceiling at sub 5% ownership is never a bad play. Yeah. I think I've heard Silva say this too, where he's just like every week you want an Allen Diggs lineup. That's generally kind of how I feel. And again, it was such a great tournament week with ownership relatively condensed in a few spots and then no games catching a ton that you really could kind of play whoever you wanted. Let's see here. We're still having this. Okay, yeah, I guess I agree about proven players and stuff in PPR though. Does Beasley have a lower ceiling? I think so, because I'm just talking purely about average depth of target. Gabriel Davis has a better chance. He fills in for the John Brown role. If you look at his peripherals, he fills in for the John Brown role. He's getting the deep shots down the field. We just mentioned he's getting the red zone targets. Cole Beasley can obviously have days where he racks up a ton of catches and scores more points than him, but I don't think in general that Beasley has a higher ceiling than a guy like Gabriel Davis. All right, let's see here. Should we just look for leverage elsewhere when locks like Gio, Williams, and Deontay are on the slate? I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, if you wanted to play Gio and Williams, you totally could. Like, I could have played Gio and Williams around my Josh Allen double stack. I definitely could have. But again, I then feel like I want to play a 9v9 versus the field in this tournament. If I'm doing that, or I'm playing 3 chalk options, now all of a sudden I'm playing a 6v6, and then I'm playing a 5v5, and then I'm having to get just so perfect. So if I think I'm not sacrificing too many projected points, like no one's going to look at, like, I didn't play, who would be like a fringe running back? Like Antonio Gibson had a good day, so that's not a good example. I'm trying to think of like a fringe running back in the fives who didn't have like a sure role that maybe people wanted to talk themselves into. Oh, let's say Jerick McKinnon. Let's say that I liked how things were setting up for him. Little did I know. But there's an opportunity cost there. Like, I am giving up a lot of touches when I'm playing Jerick McKinnon and not playing Gio or Jamal at a cheaper price. However, Mike Davis and Zeke Elliott are probably one of 5 or 6 backs with a bell cow role in the league right now. I don't think I'm giving up projected touches there. And then, of course, I play Mclaren in the flex over a running back. I know some people like to play, to jam the 3 running backs. But again, I love the spot for Mclaren. I thought he had a high floor and high ceiling. So again, like, I don't think, even though I was going contrarian, I don't think my opportunity cost was huge. I don't think I was giving up a ton at those running back slots because I'm targeting Mike Davis, who, as we've heard, is 90% CMC. Although maybe we have to adjust our priors on that now that Curtis Samuel is stealing goal line targets. But up until yesterday, that was the case. I mean, Mike Davis had an absolute monster workload. Zeke Elliott, people are down on him because he keeps making boneheaded mistakes, but he still had one of the highest rate of high value touches last week. I mean, he's just getting so many insane opportunities that I think I have a hard time saying it's in a vacuum just a bad play. hey, Pete, I played hasty in some lineup to try and get different. I was in the right neighborhood. Yeah, that was weird. I mean, there was that report, too, before the game that they were like, hey, the team really likes Michael Hasty. He came in and ran well. McKinnon will be involved, but Hasty's going to get the majority of the work. Lies. Jeff Wilson. All right, guys. So let's check out this other lineup here. So this one was just absolute dust. So this was another lineup, and this one will be interesting to talk about because I went for a full game stack. In this one, I definitely ate some more chalk. The chalk donkeys will love this lineup. I played Jamal Williams. I played Devontae Adams. I played Christian Kirk. So this lineup, I did put this one in the smaller SPY on purpose because it was concentrated so much around a game stack. I used 6. I used 6 plays from that Green Bay Houston game. And I'll tell you how I built it too. Tanyan wasn't included in this at first. I knew I wanted my Watson double stack. I thought I still think Fuller's ownership each week is kind of crazy relative to his role and his ceiling. He has, and I know it took a while for him to get there, and this wasn't his best game, but I still just, to me, Will Fuller is like the Derrick Henry of wide receivers. Just the ceiling we know is just monstrous. And in these game environments, at home against the Packers in the highest over-under game of the week, or with the highest total of the week, I mean, I love getting Fuller there. And then I knew, obviously, if I'm playing this Watson double stack, I'm going to play the 2 best plays on the Packers side, Jamal Williams and Adams. And then I was filling out the rest of my lineup. I was trying to think, look, if I'm making a big stand on this game and the Seahawks-Cardinals game goes off, what are the ways I could leverage that, with Lockett and Metcalf and Nuke being what I expected to be fairly popular? Well, how about Christian Kirk and how about Chris Carson? And their ownership was moderate. It wasn't like true leverage on that game, but I liked getting access to that game and all the points that were going to be scored there. And then as I was saying, I had been paying up for defense. I liked how things set up for the Chargers. They weren't going to be highly owned. And then that left me with this kind of dead zone. How much salary did I have left here? I don't remember, but I could have gone down. I could have played Hunter Henry as well. But at this point, I'm like, I already need this game to go absolutely nuclear for me to win this tournament. And if that happens, I don't mind just tossing in the tight end here. And again, I want to make the point. I did this in the smaller SPY, which only has 2,222 versus the 5,555, because I'm only getting like one thing right. Like I'm trying to get the ancillary pieces in that Seattle-Arizona game, and I'm trying to nail this game. If this is the game last week, that was the Falcons-Vikings game. It was close, right? Like the Packers, other than Tunyon, did their job. And Watson just had a frustrating game. And like I said, lots of Cobb, lots of 3 and outs for Watson. And even then, like he still kind of gets there, right? 27.16 points. And that was an incredibly frustrating game to watch. But you'll see here, this lineup was definitely chalkier than my other one, and making a big bet on a game. My thought was a lot of people are going to play Adams. A lot of people are going to play Jamal Williams. How can I play this in a smart way that still gives me access to getting first in a tournament? And I thought, okay, well, that is playing those best plays and then bringing it back on the other side with the lower owned guys. And that's what happened with Fuller and Cooks. I'm kind of surprised Cooks was 15.1%, honestly. I was debating Fells. Glad I didn't do that. Fells had a 0. I think he had a 0. Yeah. But I just figured Cooks, again, that ceiling thing. And I was indifferent about tight ends. So I think if I would have built and I would have needed to save it, maybe I would have just put in Fells there. But again, I was making a huge bet on this game, trying to get overweight on it relative to the field, knowing that some of these pieces were going to be owned. And we didn't get that ceiling game from the Texans. If we get the 2 more touchdowns from the Texans, then we're starting to talk. Then we're at least up there. Let me check in on the teams here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, people were asking me about this, the 3 bringbacks. So part of it is I don't even think of like Jamal Williams as a bringback. He was such an incredible points per dollar play that had a ceiling, that was in one of the better game environments on the week. So I don't even like, he's a one-off play. Like, I don't even view him as being like, in my thought process of constructing this, I don't even really consider him like a bring back of like, oh no, I have this. Like, it didn't bother me. And again, like when we look at these lineups, like we saw CSU Ram 88 win the luxury box with a triple stack. We've seen Leone a few weeks back with a Houston triple stack win. Like, I still do think in these smaller field tournaments, and that's why I specifically mentioned it, I didn't want this team in the 5-5-5-5, because then that's another huge chunk of entries I have to beat. But if I get the one game stack right, it's going to be so much easier for me to lap the field. That didn't happen this week. Like the one-off plays, the optimal plays all hit in a big way. So the game stack wasn't lapping those optimal one-off plays. That's just how it goes. But I don't have regrets about, I guess you would say, overstacking or onslaughting this game, especially at the ownership. All right, we got news. Odell tore his ACL. I knew he was getting an MRI this morning. Yeah, put in some bids for Rashard Higgins. I guess that's a bummer. Let's see here. What does Vincent say? I had a Watson stack with Fells and needed only 3 things to get right. It just didn't get there. I just keep slightly missing, and it's frustrating, but every week I'm happy with my lineup. Yeah, it's hard because like not only, you have your stacks or your games you like, and then you have these secondary correlations, but sometimes they're just not in the right lineups, right? Like I had a James Conner or AJ Brown in one of my red zones, and that went great with AJ Brown popping off. I had some Waller and Godwin correlations that went off, but I didn't have those in this. Sometimes you get like one puzzle piece right, the big puzzle piece, and then you don't get the smaller puzzle pieces right. And then you're losing. So it's, again, if you have time and you have the bankroll and you have good contest selection and you can take all your puzzle pieces and mix and match them, I guess what I'm describing is an MME player, right? You put in all the constraints and correlations and the plays you like, and then you let the optimizer do all the work for you. So you make sure you don't miss out on some of those combinations, like where you're right, but then you don't make money just because you didn't have the right pieces fit together. Sometimes you just have to live with that, or you learn how to use an optimizer. I'll shout out Jordan Cooper after he won his $50,000. He put out a video of how he did that. If you aren't a hand builder and you want to see how to use an optimizer and how to build groups, it's a very good video. It intrigued me. I don't think I have enough time on Sunday mornings to do it right. I think I want to spend more time practicing and learning how to do it, so then my process is expedited. I don't think I have the time to do that right now, but if you have the time and you're interested in that, I highly recommend that video, because there's not a lot of people showing you exactly how the sausage gets made. These are what my groups look like. These are what my correlations look like. And obviously you end up having to make some of your own decisions on the games and the stacks and the players and the exposures, but just the tools and the framework of how to do it. Very good video if you're interested in MMEing and trying to get all the perfect combinations right. That will set you up to do that without having to get calluses on your hands hand building here. Let's check some of the winning lineups too, because I hadn't done that yet. I just want to see the kind of lineups that were taking these down. I should also mention why I'm here. If you're watching on my channel, we started a Discord. My guy Siler, he started this Discord. It's called the Deposit Kingdom. We got channels in there for DFS. There's people talking sports betting. There's people in there. We got a channel for season-long stuff, and lots of like really good questions, like the kind of stuff we're talking about. And you've heard me talk about how talking with other people about my DFS process. I learned so much from Brian Hooper, Brick 75, this past offseason, talking to him. I learned a lot talking with Leone and Holka each week. Like having that sounding board to bounce ideas off of is really important. And I know there's lots of good Discords out there. The Rotogrinders Discord has great conversation. I know I mentioned Jordan. I know he's in there a lot answering questions. Like find these communities to help you think through things you wouldn't have otherwise thought, or see different perspectives, or have someone who's mentioning, hey, this ownership's is creeping up over here. And you're like, oh, I wasn't even looking at that ownership. I didn't even know that might've been a possibility. Just anything like this. It's very helpful to have other people to bounce ideas off of. So there's a plug for the Discord. It's in my show notes if you want to join. Let's see what first place look like here. Marty McFly, 275.58 points. He runs a Herbert to Keenan Allen with no bring back. He has Kamara and Jamal Williams, the chalky running backs. He does a one-off Tyler Lockett, a one-off Harrison Bryant, a one-off Devontae Adams, and then Todd Gurley. This is not a lineup I would ever find myself on. It's a great lineup. I mean, 275 points. I mean, absolutely went. But this is this is week 7 in a microcosm right here. I mean, just getting every one-off play, most of which were pretty popular. I mean, the best play here is Harrison Bryant, punting it at tight end, low ownership, a guy that was stepping into opportunity with Hooper out. I was a little confused on how to play that. The whole Njoku, Harrison Bryant thing, I was getting Adam Troutman flashbacks. Those plays weren't on my radar. If it was just one of them in there stepping into that opportunity like it was with Troutman, I've been like, giddy up. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Jordan following up on his MME process. Spent an hour doing that process on Saturday night, just then tweak and review things on Sunday mornings. Yeah. Let's see. Playing Jamal and Adams seems negative EV. I don't think so. I mean, I played them. I wanted, and this goes back to the thing, like they were both great plays. And because Jamal Williams is so cheap, I don't even think that's negative EV. Like it was a game environment that was projecting the implied team totals were more than enough for both Jamal Williams and Devontae Adams, who we could safely project to be the engines of those offenses. Like we could project them to get the majority of touches. And if we expect the Packers to score 30 points, like their implied team total, like both of those guys can get there. But that's why I'm saying, Eric, similar to thing, like I wouldn't have built a lineup like this. I did build a lineup with Jamal Williams and Devontae Adams, but I built the Houston double stack around it. Because I said, if these guys go off, what could also happen? Well, I thought the game was setting up perfect. I mean, Adams and Williams are crushing early. We have a negative game script here for Deshaun Watson, who goes into that pants on fire mode. And I thought, okay, we're looking good. And it just didn't get there. It didn't get there. Too many stalled out drives, too many passes to Randall Cobb, not enough explosive plays to speed up the game. But that's why I don't mind it. Like I played Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. All it takes is one play. Boom. The stack is hitting. The game is sped up. More opportunities for Adams and Jamal Williams. Like I'm trying to correlate and build around that game environment. If Jamal Williams and Adams hit their ceiling, what's generally going to happen? Well, generally, I think the Texans find a ceiling themselves. That didn't happen, and that's why these 2 one-offs with no bring back worked. But I'm never going to build a lineup like this. I mean, this is nearly, to me, other than, I'm not a cash game guy. You guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I would say other than Herbert and Todd Gurley, this is a cash game lineup, right? I mean, Lockett was a great play. He was affordable. Keenan Allen, I know, was popping in optimals. Devontae Adams in optimals. Kamara, Jamal Williams. I assume Harrison Bryant, the punt tight ends are always going to look vaguely nice in optimals. Washington football team was the optimal D based on projections, not hindsight. I mean, this is a near cash lineup with Justin Herbert and Todd Gurley. I'm never going to have lineups that look like this unless I start playing cash games. So, yeah, shout out to Marty McFly. That's why DFS is beautiful, right? I mean, because someone can win. What did he win? $50,000? $100,000 on this lineup. Very nicely done. What do we got here? Yeah, I did. Did you guys miss the news that MVS retired? Jamal's their number 2 wide receiver. I had talked about this on a show Sunday, our line movement show, because I was getting lots of questions about Jamal versus Gio, and I didn't play any Gio, mainly because I didn't want to play both Jamal and Gio, and I preferred Jamal so much more than Gio because they've used Jamal at times like interchangeably with Aaron Jones. Like it's not like, oh, Jamal Williams is just the passing back and Aaron Jones is the early. Like they will do drives where Jamal Williams plays the entire drive. Like they will use him as the full bell cow running back. And I thought that's more what we were going to see here, especially after Tyler Ervin was made inactive. And I know that might not sound like a big deal, but I think these are the little clues that teams are telling us based on their actions and how they think about things. And to me, early in the season, if you look at the running back usage for Green Bay, those first couple weeks, Tyler Ervin was mixing in. Like it was a really gross 3- and 4-way split. Like you were getting Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, AJ Dillon, and Tyler Ervin in that mix. And of course, Aaron Jones still went nuclear that 1 week because we know he's capable of it. But in general, they were really distributing touches around, which can make things very dicey for fantasy. So when Tyler Ervin, on a week where Aaron Jones isn't playing, is ruled out, all of a sudden I know Jamal Williams has zero competition for pass work and one of the best game environments. I know the team already trusts him. He's the guy that's been the thorn in everyone's side for Aaron Jones for years. Everyone's like, let Aaron Jones cook. Well, the team loves Jamal Williams. So that was setting up very nicely for him. I thought he was a fantastic play. Like I said, I had him in 4 of my 5 personal lineups. I believe we had him in every single one of our tilt space lineups. I just didn't have him in my 1 spy lineup that I reviewed for you guys and ate shit. So that's how it goes. Jamal Williams was a very, very nice play. Yep. It was big for his ceiling and even Adams. Yeah, just even freeing up a few of those touches and putting them on other guys' plate can change projections there for sure. Tilt space was fire last night, and Derrick Henry is definitely going to be 30% owned this week. Yeah, man, I couldn't believe that. In the juke, we were the only team to play Derrick Henry, coming off of an absolutely nuclear game. In the olden days, Derrick Henry would have been 20% owned coming off of that. It's crazy. It's crazy. People are not box score watching. You go into the app, you're not clicking on what did Derrick Henry do last week. They're looking at the DVP. They're saying the red number 2 next to the Steelers. Oh, the number 2 defense. I can't play a running back there. So maybe that's our edge. Maybe we're back to defenses don't matter to get an edge in DFS because people are not box score watching. They are not. They do not care if someone goes nuclear. They are not going back to them. They don't care if a wide receiver like Terry McLaurin has bricked, 2 or 3 weeks in a row. They know he's number 1 in the air yards by low model. He knows it's a pace-up game. They know the Cowboys secondary is awful. You're not getting anything past people unless it's the matchup. People still get scared of the matchup. What do we have here? I always obsess over my cash lineup all Sunday morning, and then I'm scrambling to put lineups into contests and then end up with my highest score in a free roll while I put off the $27 single entry. This is what I was talking about of why I only make 5 lineups, because that's, I write a newsletter on Sunday mornings. I do a show from 11 to 12. I have to touch base with Leone and Holka about our lineups. It really only leaves me like an hour of just my own time to build. And I like building with a fresh set of eyes on Sunday. I'm messing with combinations. I'm doing my research. I'm making notes up until then, but I try to throw it all out. Not throw it all out, but I try not to be anchored to any specific builds that I've done before that. And so to your point, like make the amount of lineups or focus on the contest selection that you think you can reasonably devote enough time to that you think you have an edge. This is also one of the reasons I don't play cash. I think I understand the cash builds. I think I know what those are going to be, but I think there's just a little bit more nuance to that. And I just want my brain thinking about tournaments on Sunday. That's what I'm focusing on. So I'm not adding cash to my plate. It means I'm going to have way more down weeks, right? because I'm not going to build a floor into my bankroll by chipping away with I don't know, if I was good, a 55% ROI in cash games. Like for me, that's a lot of additional time and resources to grind out that ROI relative to me trying to become a better tournament player. And I've come to peace with eating shit in these weeks. But just knowing like I'm going to be solely thinking about that. I'd rather be really good at one thing than decent at both. So I guess my only thing that I would say to you is like, what do you really want to be good at? And there are tons of players who are great tournament and cash game players. I don't think I'm good enough to pull that off right now. Maybe you are, but I would just say if it feels like a lot, maybe just focus on one thing. Just focus on one thing. Dial that process in. And then once Jordan mentioned he does an hour on that and then he just tweaks some things Sunday morning. Like he has his process dialed in. I now have like my process for certain things dialed in. Maybe once I get way more comfortable, I could add new things to my plate, try different formats, different game types, but I'm not at that point yet. I'm still really trying to lock in to my Sunday morning process. So ask yourself what your goals are. Ask yourself how much time do you need to be able to devote to accomplish those? And then are too many other things distracting you from being able to do that? Should we feel good when the chalk hits and we drop to the bottom of the leaderboards? I mean, I don't feel great. But I'm not questioning my process. I'm not having this existential crisis of like, why didn't I play Alvin Kamara? Why didn't I play Tyler Lockett? I mean, I'm not having that kind of dread because I know how I'm building. I know why I'm building that way. I know I'm not going to win a GPP every single week. The chalk hits for a very good reason. They are the best plays. Chalk exists for a reason. And again, like this lineup here up on the screen had to be perfect. You need the perfect chalk lineup, but no to get Todd Gurley in there and no to punt it off with Harrison Bryant. Like you have to be so insanely perfect. You're matching the field on Kamara, on Williams, on Lockett, on Keenan, on Devontae. And then you're saying, all right, now let's see who can do the best galaxy brain one-offs. It's hard. I don't want to play this style because this, ironically, this is the ironic thing, right? Like people say like, oh, you're being far too contrarian. To me, this is the far more risky thing because you're saying me and the field are going to play a 3v3 now. That's hard. To me, this is the lottery. Even though these are higher projected plays, like getting this lineup specifically to first place, that's a lottery to me. I'm not good enough to get all those things right. I'm trying to get one or two things right. They had to get a lot of things right here. Very little correlation in this lineup. How do you know? So, we talk about these lineups and you say, well, you should have played more chalk. Well, how do you know when to not play? How do you know not to play Mike Davis instead of Todd Gurley here? I think everyone would agree Mike Davis was a better play than Todd Gurley based on projected workload, similar ownership, relatively similar price. I think maybe 600 more. So how do you know which best plays to play and then which weird contrarian play to play? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're having to get so many things right when you don't correlate like this. And you're playing very similar plays as the rest of the field. Like, that's hard. That's really, really hard. See, I mean, I know, like, I could build a cash lineup. I know I could do that, but I'm saying I want the amount of time it would take me in the way that I want to do it right. I just don't want to devote my efforts to that. I just like having my brain focused on my GPPs, Jordan. Not all of us are all world DFS players like you. Not all of us are on the DraftKings player committee and can juggle MME and cash game builds. And again, it's all not that I don't think I could do it. I don't want to grind out that ROI. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem fun or intellectually interesting to me. That's just for me. It's just not for me. Yeah. So wise man once said, we'd rather eat shit than eat chalk. Ain't that true? I think that was Is it Nietzsche? I think it was Nietzsche who said that. I kind of feel like a chalk donkey for cash in this week. No, man, take your money and run. 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 Yeah, it just I think you can, if you build really good lineups and you make one or two pivots, I bet you can cash a lot of weeks. I just think it's going to be harder to access the top 1% of these 20 of these. All right, let's see here. They feel more comfortable with the min cash, but aren't getting awarded correctly when 95% goes. Yeah, and again, like we talk about this, like you can go look at these prize structures. Like I like the SPY, but I mean, it's still wildly top heavy. I mean, look at this. You have almost $200,000 in the top 5 spots. And obviously any of us would be happy with turning $100 into 5,000. But to be profitable in this contest long-term, like you need access to some of these top ones. Look how hard it is just to even min cash. I mean, you got to be in the, 20th percentile just to 1.5x min cash. That's really hard. That's really hard to be profitable long-term. Oh my God. Of course that dude won. He was named Marty McFly. It's true, man. He came back from the future to win the SPY. Let's take a look at the listener league here, and then we'll wrap things up. Brian, 0825. Very nice lineup. He had the chalk running back construction of Kamara, Bernard, and Jamal. He had a naked Kyler. He played Lockett coming back, played Devontae Adams, and then played one-offs. This is, again, very similar to that lineup we just looked at. This is more or less a cash game lineup with like one tweak, getting in Deontay Johnson, who I think in a normal week would have been far chalkier. 4,200 Deontay Johnson for his role. I mean, that was a really nice ownership thing. I probably would have been even more overweight on him had I thought about that more and realized how under-owned he was going to come. I had him in, I did some one-off correlations, like in the lineup we played Derrick Henry. We did Derrick Henry and Deontay Johnson in that lineup. And that was fine. And then in one of my other ones, I did James Conner, AJ Brown. What you really needed was AJ Brown and Deontay Johnson. But again, this is a nice lineup. This is a hashtag play the best plays lineup. You know, this is a very small field relative to some of these tournaments we're discussing. Only 200 people in here. And he did kind of 2 sub 10% plays in Deontay Johnson, the Chargers D. On the chalk week, this can smash. It can smash in a 200-person tournament. Nice lineup, Brian, 0825. Like I said, these aren't the kind of lineups I'm going to make, but there's merit to them on weeks like this, right? I don't know which weeks those are going to be. Some weeks the chalk hits, sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, look at the kind of lineups you have to beat out. So how many plays does he have in his lineup that second place has? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of 9. Brian 0825 and Texas Boss 302 had a 3v3 for all the monies. That's hard. That's hard. I don't like going into tournaments where I know I'm playing a 3v3. I'd play cash games if I wanted to do that. So again, I'm not taking anything away from these guys. It's just not how I'm going to build, because I just think you're threading the needle. In the same way that they probably think I'm going way too contrarian, I think they're making it much harder for themselves to normally get a top 1 or 2 finish in a contest this size, a top 10 finish in a bigger contest. Let's see here. Can you look at JK and KC? Is this in the listener league? We can take a look at this, and then we're going to wrap up here in a sec. There you are. You got 12. But you had Kamara, Jamal, Lockett, McLaurin, Jones, Olsen, Hot. No, I like this lineup. So you did a premium stack, Kyler to nuke. You brought it back with Lockett. Or you did the double bring back. Yeah. No, this is a good lineup. These are the lineups I like to make. You're making a bet on this game. You knew Lockett and Nuke were going to be owned, but not over-owned. You toss in Greg Olsen there as a punt defense. It ended up being what? Ended up being Disley, but who knows? I know Cardi was higher in the blitz on Olsen. I had Olsen in my single entry that I had a Seattle game stack in. You play Marvin Jones as a one-off. I get a little in my bias of I feel like Marvin Jones might be dusted, but like from a ceiling and ownership and game environment, I love that one-off. Eat some chalk with Mclaren. I thought he was a great play. You get a non-chalky defense. I like this lineup. It's correlated. You decided to eat some chalk here with Kamara Williams and McLaurin. No, I like this lineup. Let's see. Does DB4 Cornet lineup for GPP? Let's see. Are you in this? Is that what you're saying? DB4? Okay. Ooh, you got 5th. All right, let's see here. Tyler to Nuke. You bring it back with Lockett. You do a little mini correlation here with AJ Green and David Njoku. That seems nice. And then you play some best plays around it. Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, Keenan Allen. And then you pay up for defense. You get a low-owned great defensive play. I mean, it didn't get there, but I like that. This is a good lineup. I like this lineup. I think that's a lineup that's perfectly suited for this size tournament. A premium skinny stack. One other little mini correlation here, and then some best plays. I think that's a great lineup. Yeah. Oh, Realberg, Realberg, which one are you? You're the one that won? Or are you Texas Boss? Regardless, nice lineup. Very nice lineup. Congratulations on taking down the very prestigious Pete's Week 7 League. All right, guys. This has been fun. If you want to see more tilt, if you want to see more first take processing of the slate, like I said, we went live for like 2 hours last night on the tilt space. If you're watching on my channel, I have the link in the description. And we had a lot of these conversations. We were battling with the chat. You guys are far more I don't know what the term is, agreeable or open-minded. Our tilt space chat was there's a lot of recency bias, a lot of thinking we know how to do things based on what just happened. So we were battling, we were tilting. If you want to watch that, I think it's a fun watch. But otherwise, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to it, hit the like button, regardless of if you're over at Rotogrinders or on my channel. It would help us out. I'll be back on Friday with a build show. Haven't booked a guest yet, but I've really been enjoying those. And Jordan had a nice tweet about it the other day. But I do really, it is probably one of the content things I do that I'm most proud of, because I'm very specific on the type of guests I book for that. We're not doing picks. I mean, Bales and I barely talked about the slate over the course of an hour. But I'm booking guests that we can talk DFS, GPP strategy, game theory, correlations, things that are evergreen, things that can be applied to each and every slate you play. Not who do I play, Gio Bernard or Jamal Williams? Like, those questions have no shelf life. Those don't help us. It's the epitome of like, give me a fish versus like, let's learn how to not be a fish. We're turning that phrase on its head. But that's really, and I'm asking the questions that I'm curious about, that I'm trying to learn from players that are way better tournament players than me. So I think those shows are very evergreen. If you want to go back and watch them with Bales, with Bime4, with Blender, with who else did I have on there? I've had a lot of good guests, but go back, check those out. They are evergreen. I do think that kind of stuff is the best way to become a better tournament player. Maybe you want to become a better cash game player. That show is probably not for you. But if you're interested in tournaments, I do really think those shows are valuable. So I'll be back on Friday. I'll book a good guest for that. We got the Swolecast on Wednesdays. Subscribe to that Swolecast if you haven't yet. We'll have listener leagues. I'll get the link pinned down in the comments once that's up. I don't know if salaries are up yet for week 8, but we'll get that listener league up. So thank you guys. Congrats to all the chalk donkeys. Congrats to all the fish out there on their big week. The GPP players will live to see another day. We'll see you guys next time.